watch you while you sleep, holding you, lost inside every breath you breathe. I don't wanna live a day without you. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy.
Hello. This is one of those videos that I kind of start without really knowing what I'm going to say. I just have a feeling inside and like I want to say something, communicate something, express myself in some way. But I don't really know what exactly I want to say. I don't know. It's kind of like just in the mood to talk, I guess. I was thinking about how the hardest part for me as far as when I was dealing with depression, it's still kind of hard, but not like it was. I like being alone, which is something I never thought I would ever be able to say. But I look forward to coming home and being alone. It doesn't scare me anymore. It used to terrify the hell out of me. It's like I went to bars and I didn't feel right unless I was around people. And I tried to put off coming home as long as I could. Now it's like, do I really, I don't even have the urge to go out anymore. I don't miss it. I don't need to go out. I don't think about going out. I go to bed early. And I enjoy being alone. And I think fear of being alone is a really big thing for a lot of people. And I think that the reason a lot of people need to believe in God or need to believe, that they have a close personal friend in Jesus is because they don't like being alone. So they like to think that even when they're alone, they're not alone. That there's somebody watching them and somebody looking out for them and somebody they can talk to. And maybe that's partly why they get so uptight and upset whenever anything comes along to put that into question, whether or not they really have this one friend that never turns his back, never abandons them, never lets them down, never stabs them in the back. He's always there. Every other friend on the planet will hurt you, disappoint you, abandon you, lie to you. Parents are temporary. I mean, very likely you're going to outlive your parents and you know it. You grow up, you move out, you have your own life, you don't see your parents so much anymore. Friends come, friends go. Nobody really knows you. Nobody's been there the whole time, from your earliest recollection to present. So nobody really knows you, but you can imagine that there's this friend that never leaves your side. He's always there, and it's comforting. It's comforting to have that imagining, that feeling that there's somebody there to talk to. There's somebody sitting by your side. There's angels perhaps wrapping their wings above your head when you're sad or stroking your hair, to soothe you when you're crying. I think people need that. I think some people really need that. They need to feel like there's somebody that loves them And so when somebody like an atheist comes along and laughs at the Bible, which is basically the foundation for these beliefs, and laughs at it and points out all the errors and points out, hey, have you even looked at how that came together and who put it together and when and how? They don't want to hear that, and they get very upset, and they go on the defensive, and they call you a fool, and they tell you you're going to go to hell because they just want you to shut up. They want you to leave them alone so they can have this comforting thing that they need so much. They don't want to lose this friend, this imagined friend that they've imagined so much that it's like it's real. Like, if you tell a lie enough times, after a while you start to believe it yourself. You start to believe the lie. It starts to become more and more difficult to separate in your head what is true and what isn't true, because the lie has become so familiar to you that it doesn't seem like a lie. It seems, I had, when I was a kid, we supposedly had a haunted house. I would have been 5. This was after my dad died, and no, I'm sorry, I would have been 7. My dad died when I was 6, and we moved to Washington when I was 8. So this would have been when I was around 7 years old. And my mom picked up somebody this was like a blizzard. Now, I don't remember any of this. This is a story that my mom told me to fill in the blanks because I had a lot of blanks. I only had little bits and pieces of recollection of this whole thing. I had basically built up a story that I told all my friends based on what I remember. So what I don't remember, but what my mom told me, was that she picked up this woman who was walking down the street in this blizzard, brought her home. Turns out this woman, my mom had to go to the neighbor's house, and when she came back, and we were upstairs sleeping, and when she came back, supposedly she saw witchy signs that this woman had drawn over the fireplace. And my mom, being a highly religious person, freaked out and kicked her out of the house, and the woman turned around and cursed the house. This is what my mom told me. None of this I recall. What I do recall is waking up and hearing the lids of the washer and dryer banging really loud, and my mom would not let me or my brother get out of bed, and she herself was in her bed, and we stayed like that for at least an hour. She wouldn't let us get out of bed. We ended up wetting the bed because she wouldn't let us get out of bed. She finally went downstairs and she stopped this noise. Well, okay, I don't want to tell this huge, long story, but I could tell a story because I remember seeing a black shadow go by the kitchen window and asking my mom if we had any big birds. I remember her calling me to the side door and asking me to look out at the car and describe what I see. And I remember what I said. I don't remember seeing it, but I remember saying it, that there were 2 dark shapes in the car. The car was actually running, and there was a little dark shape without any legs, like a little dog without any legs, floating alongside the driver's side door. And I told her that. And my mom kind of pulled me inside and closed the door, and then later on we went out and the car was turned off and everything was normal. So I remember that, and I remember she left with us, and we went from hotel to hotel. Supposedly these things chased us. I have a lot of really kind of scary memories of this it was a week-long thing that happened. And supposedly these things were chasing us from hotel. And there were some really weird things, like my brother waking up in the middle of the night covered with bed bugs, screaming. And one night we were in a hotel that had it was like they had just put an addition onto the end and it wasn't completed yet. It was all locked up. And the toilet in that locked up room that wasn't ready to be used yet flushed and flushed and flushed and flushed and flushed. And, at first we didn't really think about it. And the more it went on, the more it's like, anyway, we ended up leaving that hotel room, and I ended up leaving my glasses behind. And then supposedly a light shone on the hood of the car, and my mom and my brother saw it. I did not, because I didn't have my glasses on. And then I got a really bad fever. I got a really high fever, and I ended up in the hospital for, I think it was just overnight. And then when my fever broke, my mom just had this weird feeling, and then that night she had this dream, and she saw this ring of white around our house that kept trying to close, and something kept forcing it open, and then it finally closed. And she knew then that the house was safe, and we could go back home. That's kind of the gist of the story. And I used to scare my friends because there's a lot more to it. There was a furnace that wouldn't shut off, and I'm trying to think if that might be the only other thing that I remember, the furnace thing. But I also remember hearing my mom down in the living room talking to somebody, basically telling them to leave and, be quiet and leave and stuff like that. Anyway, so I told my friends this story, and I truly believed all the way until, I don't know, about 6 years ago. I really believed we had a haunted house. I believed that we had poltergeists because I saw the movie Poltergeist, and I found out what poltergeists were. Anyway, long story short, I had told the story so many times that, I honestly didn't remember if it was true or not, because it was like I just told the story. It was so long ago, I didn't remember. I mean, I kind of remember, but a lot of it is just me remembering the story that I told about it. And then we went back to Wisconsin. Me and my mom went back to Wisconsin. I think it was 1988, and we were at my aunt and uncle's house. And my mom was upstairs, and my uncle said, gee, she said something about my crazy mom and how he had packed up his family and was looking for us. He had the cops looking for us, and he himself was out looking for us because she just packed us up and disappeared and didn't even tell the school or anything. And anyway, long story short, I didn't know until about 6-7 years ago that my mom had paranoid schizophrenia. She hid it very well her whole life, and I didn't know until about six years ago. And then when I found out about it, then I was able to go back and think about that supposed event, because I defended her to my uncle. My uncle was saying how she was crazy and she just took off with us, and I said, no, it wasn't just that. We had a haunted house, and anyway, so I defended her. Well, anyway, after I found out that my mom had been diagnosed, and they're trying to ask me, well, when do you think she had her first, when did she start, that was the first thing. I'm like, well, we had a haunted house, and I was this little kid, and I remember this stuff. But anyway, this is a really long way to get around to the point of my story, is that you believe something. If you keep something in your head as the truth, you believe it's the truth, it becomes true for you. It becomes real. I truly believed, because my mom believed. My mom believed that these things were happening. So I believed her, 100% believed her, that we had a haunted house and that there was these things chasing us. And it was very scary. I totally believed her, And so it's totally makes sense for me that little kids believe their parents. When their parents totally believe something, the kids are going to believe it too. But also, it's just, if you believe something long enough, it's like you don't even think about questioning it. It just becomes who you are and a part of you. So much that, you just can't even separate yourself from it. And it was really hard for me to realize that this thing that was a part of my history, a part of my childhood, a really big part of my childhood, part of the reason why I was able to be a Christian, was because of the thing that happened to us in Wisconsin. Because I knew, because of that thing happening to us, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that there were ghosts and demons and things that were not explainable, that live on a different plane, some kind of spirit realm. That's where I used to tell, people when I was a little, kid and at the Bible camp, oh, it's easy for me to believe because I've experienced stuff from, the other side, the other whatever, And then when I found out that it didn't really happen. It was just, my impressionable self believing what my mom, so it's like little kids going into a haunted house. It's not real, but how quickly does a little kid become scared for real? Even though they go in and they know it's not real, very soon they're like, oh my gosh, the adrenaline is going and they totally think it's real and they're freaking out. So anyway, I think there's some of that in the whole trying to, people who really need to believe in God, and really it's all part of their reality. It's part of how they see reality. It's just so ingrained in them that they can't even imagine that not being real, that not being true. When I finally found out that my mom, this was probably not even true, and it was just my mom's first mental break with schizophrenia, it was really weird. It was like, none of that really happened, And I still to this day honestly don't know what the hell was making the lids of the washer and dryer go up and down. I mean, they were like, bang, 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 bang. It was my mom and me and my brother, and we were all upstairs. So that, even to this day, as much as, okay, I've got it all explained to me, even the toilet flushing, somebody told me once that could have been, something about how they had set the toilet up, that it was just, filling and then basically the water was going back out or whatever. They came up with an explanation for that. But the thing that keeps a little fragment of doubt for me is the washer, the lids of the washer and dryer. What the hell was that? But anyway, this is a really long, I didn't mean for this to get so long, but I guess my point is, I kind of understand how some people would have a hard time letting go of these comforting beliefs that, it's part of their history. It's part of their whole life has been built on these things that they believe, And to say it's not true or find out it's not true, it's like a piece of them has been taken from them. And I know this because I had that taken from me. It's not easy. It's very painful. And I got angry. And I've heard of other people who get angry when they find out it isn't true. Because it really is a part of your life that intensely. You build your life on it. You build your perceptions of the world on it. That's your friend when nobody else is there. That's your parent when nobody's there to talk to. The one companion that will never betray you. The one that always cares no matter what. The one who accepts you no matter what. Nobody wants to get rid of a friend like that. It's like a security blanket, like Linus carried around in Peanuts. And nobody wants to find out that isn't true. People who get a lot of comfort from it, they don't want to know that it isn't true. And I think that's why a lot of, when atheists come up against theists and theists say really stupid things to defend their, it's because they just so desperately want to defend this thing that is important to them. They don't want to lose it. So they'll say anything. And I think the whole thing, well, you're a fool, trying to dismiss your opinion as nothing, or, oh, you're going to go to hell one day, to punish you for trying to threaten this perception of reality that they have that's so important to them. They think that you need to be punished for even threatening that perception. Oh, you're going to go to hell. You're going to get punished one day for thinking that way, or, it's sad. I think it's sad. Anyway, okay, this is a long video. And this isn't really what I thought I was going to be talking about, but it kind of is. I like being alone. I like not having to be dependent on anybody else for my happiness. I like looking forward to coming home. I like going to bed early. I like not having the TV on and just have it quiet and just hang out. I just like being in my own company. And a year ago or 2 years ago, I never would have imagined I would ever say that and mean it. I was terrified to be alone. Maybe that was the residuals of the Christian me who always needed to have that imaginary friend, and I finally don't need that anymore. The crutch that I even as an atheist, I think the fear of being alone was residual from having this imaginary friend that I didn't have anymore, you know? So anyway, if this video makes sense, good. I hope it does, and I hope it actually, there's something to it. It's not just me yammering for, 20-some minutes? I don't even know. I don't have my glasses on. I get tired of them. I get tired of wearing them, so I don't know how many minutes this is. I can't really see anything. So, but anyway, if you've been watching and hopefully there's something that you got out of this, great, and thank you so much, and that's all. Bye-bye.